بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده صلوات الله وسلاماته عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا وبعد. Alhamdulillah, very soon the days of Itekaf will be starting, inshallah. Traditionally what we have is that we have this session for a few days before the Itekaf will start, the last weekend, so that those that are inshallah going to be spending their time in Itekaf, inshallah they can benefit, or they can be reminded, not to say that we're teaching how to do Itekaf, there isn't anything complicated to it, simple as sitting in the masjid. Some etiquettes, etc. will be reminded regarding, and those of us that perhaps do not have intention for this year, the next time, or there is still a few days left, we can still make some adjustments in our schedules, and perhaps inshallah come for this Itekaf. The Itekaf is sunnah mu'akkadah ala al-kifaya. The fuqaha call it sunnah mu'akkadah ala al-kifaya, meaning it's a very emphasized sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to do it throughout his life. It's an emphasized sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but it's a communal responsibility as well, right? So if a group of people in the community do this sunnah, then it is as if, so to say, that they have done this responsibility on behalf of the rest of us. So those of us that are not doing it, we should be feeling indebted to somewhat extent, that we're indebted to those people, mashallah, that are doing it, that they are doing a certain responsibility of the community, so to say. And those that are sitting in the Itekaf, mashallah, it's a two-way street, so they will inshallah sit with this intention that, alhamdulillah, firstly they're doing it for themselves, right? This is for their own reformation, it's for their own ascension to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also a sense of responsibility then, that this is something I'm doing also on behalf of the community. One is for myself, but also because it is al-kifaya, so on behalf of the community, so even more the reason why I should exert myself and do it in the proper manner. So sunnah of the Itekaf according to us is sunnah mu'akkad. Other Aimah have said that it's actually wajib. So in other words, basically the Itekaf is very emphasized. Firstly, for us to understand that what does Itekaf mean. Unfortunately, over here the Arabic is it's completely messed up over here, right? But whatever, inshallah, most of us will look at the English anyways. What does Itekaf mean? Itekaf literally means to stay firm upon something or to prevent something. Now we can say to cling on to something, like how a leech clings on to something. So that is basically what Itekaf means. Another meaning also, which will come up, that it means to prevent something. In this sense, that's what it means literally. But however, in this sense, when we're speaking about Itekaf in the masjid, the sitting for the last 10 days, that when we come to the masjid with all the etiquettes, all that, what does that mean? What is the proper definition of Itekaf? So that definition means, that definition of Itekaf is to remain with the intention of Itekaf in a masjid wherein 5 times daily congregational salats are held. This, if all of these requirements are fulfilled, then we will say that this Itekaf, this sunnah Itekaf has been fulfilled. Right? So let's break up this definition. So the very first thing is to remain. That's the responsibility of a mu'takif. The one who is sitting in Itekaf, his responsibility is to stay in the masjid. That's all that actually, the actual crux of the Itekaf is, that a person stays in the masjid.
This text. Just download
the.
Can I ask you right now, when you stay in the masjid, what are the boundaries of
it? We'll come to that inshallah. We'll come to that. Yeah, so for first thing we said is to remain in the masjid. So that's the main thing, that when we're staying in the masjid, as the question was asked, that's then fine, what is considered to be masjid? So this carpeted area that we see, this is considered masjid proper, right? The proper masjid. The hallway, the offices, bathrooms, basement, kitchen, all these things are considered to be attached to the masjid. They're not called the masjid proper when we're speaking. So when we say remain in the masjid, in our masjid, very simply, wherever you see this green, all this green, you stay in the field, you stay in the garden. This is all green over here, you stay inside this area. Don't go outside the doors. So number two, the second point was, we said to remain in the masjid, right? With the intention intention, niyyah is the main thing, right? If a person doesn't have intention to do something, innamal a'mal bin niyat, if we don't have the differentiation between adah, habit, and ibadah is what? Intention. If a person goes up and down, does prostration also, ruku also, he does everything but he has absolutely no intention. Does anyone call that salah? No. So like that, staying in the masjid, a person must have intention. So when we walk through the doors of the masjid, this year inshallah, this Ramadan, Thursday night, the itikaf will be starting. The itikaf will start, inshallah, Thursday night from Maghrib. So from Asr, those that are intending to do itikaf should be present in the masjid from after Asr, so they can stay there for that time. So to have this intention, now intention means it is an act of the heart. There is no dua to be read, right? Whether it's this i'tikaf, the sunnah i'tikaf of Ramadan, the last 10 days we do, or whether it's normal days, nafl i'tikaf will be called it. Inshallah we'll come to that also. Nafl meaning that any time a person comes into the masjid. For example, right now we're all sitting in the masjid. What we could have done, should have done, is that when we enter through the doors, is that you have this intention that I am making i'tikaf. That for this time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, I will be in the masjid, I have niyyah of i'tikaf. So now our staying in the masjid itself becomes an ibadah. Just merely remaining in the masjid, that also becomes ibadah. This type of i'tikaf we can do throughout the year. Right? And it's a very simple method of gaining free thawab, so to say, free reward. Without having, because we're sitting here anyways, right? Person perhaps is tired, they come a little early, they rest in the back. So then they'll be getting thawab for that, and they'll be getting reward for that. So a person should have i'tikaf, niyyah of i'tikaf. Many masajid, they have this written, nawaitul i'tikaf lillahi ta'ala, and it says dua of i'tikaf. That's not a dua. That statement is only saying in Arabic that I have intention to do i'tikaf. It's not a dua. If a person reads that also, and he doesn't even know what he's saying, that's still not i'tikaf. So in your own mind, in your own heart, yeah, you can say something to remind yourself that I'm making i'tikaf, that's fine. But there is no dua to be read, or there is no Arabic dua in that sense that once you read this, now you're in i'tikaf. So to do i'tikaf with the niyyah in the masjid, obviously that is in itself is a clause that if a person wants to do i'tikaf, say no, inshallah I'll do it in my basement sharif, I'll do it in my home, I like my house, Hilton suits me better. No, i'tikaf is done in the masjid. And when we say masjid also, we're saying that it shouldn't be a what we call musalla. Sometimes during certain places, during certain areas, under a certain store or a restaurant, they have this musalla area. Perhaps in some of your workplaces where there are more Muslims, there's a dedicated, designated area for the musalla, right? So in that musalla, what happens is that people come together and pray salah. Can you do i'tikaf in those places? No, you may not do i'tikaf over there, right? Why? Because that is not considered a masjid. A masjid is a very specific term, it has very specific conditions, and then that need to be met, and ahkam and different rules of waqf, etc. So that's why here we have that in a masjid wherein 5-time daily congregational salahs are actually held. بالفعل للصلوات الخمس. This is based on this the athar, the qawl, the statements of Aisha radiallahu anha, Ali radiallahu anhu, Hudayfa, that لا اعتكاف إلا في مسجد جامع. And this is recorded in Abu Dawud and Musannaf Abdul Razzaq. Now i'tikaf, different ibadat have their own flavor, so to say, their own colors. For example, after a few months, after Ramadan will finish, we'll see inshallah we'll have our people preparing to go for Hajj, inshallah. Some people will be making niyyah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept us all. So for example, Hajj has its own flavor. The Hajj has the flavor of showing that a person, his slavehood to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That what are the rulings of Hajj? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that your daily clothes, take that off. That you don't own anything. Wear two cladded, white cladded, come cladded in white into my house only. Your topi, take that off also. Should you gel your hair, look all nice during that time, perfume? No, none of that stuff. Why? Come as a slave to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there, for example, in Hajj, there is a flavor, there's a color of abdiyah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, slavehood to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In order to say the bandagi. So in there is a flavor of bandagi, of being a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salah has its own flavor, Sawm has its own flavor. Like that, i'tikaf has its own color. That in i'tikaf there is a declaration of love over here. Now this is a type of love story. That a person leaves his home, That he declares to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's showing his love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, my house, which I love so much, I put so much money behind it, my own bed, my children, my wife, my kids, all of these things I'm leaving behind, and Ya Allah, I'm throwing myself at your door. So for the next 10 days, I'm yours, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, I put myself here, you accept me, you make me yours also. So this is the flavor, so to say, of i'tikaf. That this is what a person declares. That we have certain acts of worships, have an appearance, showing one's love to Allah. From amongst this is i'tikaf. That one severs all ties from others. And we strengthen now our relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now that is what should be happening. That once we come to i'tikaf, now we shouldn't be worried about, I wonder if this happened over there. Did you do this? So every few minutes we're texting someone. How is this person? We're checking our Twitter, Facebook, etc. So then that defeats the point. Yes, inshallah, we will say, if you ask anyone that I stayed for 10 days in the masjid, is my i'tikaf done? Yes, the i'tikaf is done. But the ruh of the i'tikaf, the spirit of the i'tikaf, the objective of the i'tikaf that was supposed to have been met, that what a person should have attained or could have attained, that unfortunately will not be met. And that will be a loss in that sense. So if we are dedicating 10 days, 9 days, however long it will be for, either 9 or 10 days, then we'd rather make the most of it. Right? If we are going somewhere, for example, a person goes on vacation, for example, somewhere, all they do is that they sleep in the hotel. So what was the point of going there? You didn't go anywhere else, you didn't see the place, no sights. You spent all that money, you took off from work also. You didn't get the objective that you went there for, right? So same thing over here, that we took off time from our work, and we left our families behind, and we made this declaration coming to the masjid. So now we should treat that time like that. That this time is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I will try to attain as much as I can in this time. A person comes and places himself in the house of his beloved. And we should make an earnest effort that we attain all of this. Ata al-Khurasani, rahimahullah, he says, that a person performing i'tikaf is like a person putting himself in the court of Allah and saying, that Ya Allah, until you do not forgive me, I will not leave. So with this zeal, inshallah, we should continue our i'tikaf this year. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam obviously had a very special attachment to i'tikaf. And if someone asked, what is the greatest fadila for us, the greatest virtue that can be mentioned regarding i'tikaf is what? That this is the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The greatest virtue that we have is that why do we do i'tikaf? What is in it for us? What do we get out of this? What? That we will be following the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did, that is what we are doing. That we're following in the footsteps of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is the greatest virtue for us. So every year, with great care of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would perform i'tikaf. The first time he kept i'tikaf for the entire month. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he came and he sat for i'tikaf when he was told about Laylatul Qadr. So after the first 10 days, Jibreel alayhi salam came to him and said that no, what you're searching for is in the next 10 days. When he came the next 10 days, then after he said that no, it's in the next 10 days. So like that, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sat the entire month in i'tikaf. Thereafter, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would sit during the last 10 days. Except for 2 times in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's life, in which, because of a certain excuse, inshallah, those hadith are coming, that why did he not keep it? Otherwise, every year of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Hijri, post-Hijri, he kept i'tikaf. He stayed in i'tikaf. Abu Salama narrates that once I went to Abu Sa'id Khudri and asked, radiallahu anhu, that won't you come with us? Now we're inshallah discussing some hadith of i'tikaf, what is mentioned regarding i'tikaf, how did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam do it, what was the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, what was their zeal for i'tikaf. So when he came to Abu Sa'id Khudri radiallahu anhu, and I said that tell me what you heard from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about the night of power, yani about Laylatul Qadr, regarding Laylatul Qadr. So Abu Sa'id radiallahu anhu replied that once Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam performed i'tikaf in the first 10 days of Ramadan, and we did the same with him. Yani Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam doing i'tikaf, so what did they do? They also sat in i'tikaf. Jibreel alayhi salam came to him and said, that which you are looking for is ahead of you, right? Yani the Laylatul Qadr which you are looking, he said it's ahead of you. That was why he didn't say that it's on this day, exact this time. Why? So that ibadah continues. That which you are looking for is ahead of you. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam performed the i'tikaf in the second 10 days, and he remained for the next 10 days also. And Jibreel alayhi salam came again to him and said, that which you are looking for is ahead of you. So again Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, now for the third ashara, In the morning of the 20th of Ramadan, Rasulullah ﷺ delivered a sermon saying that whoever has performed the i'tikaf with me in the last 20 days, those Sahaba that have stayed in the i'tikaf with me, they should now continue it. I have been shown the night of power. Rasulullah ﷺ he was shown that when was the night of power, Laylatul Qadr will be, but I have been made to forget it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's nizam was takweenan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it such that Rasulullah ﷺ forgot that which exact day will Laylatul Qadr be. So then Rasulullah ﷺ gave us some hidayat, some guidances where we can most probably find it. That it is in the odd nights of the last 10 nights. It is in the odd nights of the last 10 nights. I remember that I was prostrating in mud and water. Yani, through this we understand, and through this ulama take that one alamah, one sign of the Laylatul Qadr is that sometimes it rains. That it rains at that time. That is also a form, an alama, a sign of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this also in itself is one advice for our mu'takifin also. What's this advice? That it didn't deter Rasulullah ﷺ that the amenities of the masjid wasn't very good. That maybe perhaps during our itikaf stay, someone might turn on the fan, someone might turn it off as soon as you turn it on. Someone might turn on the light, someone might turn off the light. One person might be doing this, another person might... These things might sometimes become a little difficult for a person. You say, oh, this becomes too hot, the air conditioner not working. These things happen, right? Sometimes Rasulullah ﷺ, Sayyidun Nas, right? Sayyidul Awwaleen wal Akhirin, it didn't deter him from continuing in his ibadah, from him seeing, or from him continuing his ibadah, that I saw myself prostrating in mud and water. So here, alhamdulillah, we have carpets also. We have a very, very good roof above our heads, right? But at the time of Rasulullah ﷺ, they didn't have even all this. Yet they continued, making their ibadah. So in Urdu they say, कि पहले मस्जिदें कच्ची थी और मुसल्ली पक्के थे और आज हम खुद ही समझ लें. Sahih Bukhari.
I have to ask you one question.
Inshallah we'll have question and answers inshallah after the session. You can write it down inshallah. In Arabic they say al-ilmu saydun wal-kitabatu qaydun. समझ गए ना आप तो अरबी? Lessons. The night of power, what do we understand from this hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of Abu Sa'id Khudri? The night of power, Laylatul Qadr, has been kept hidden from the ummah, right? And sometimes people say, should have just made it so much easier. Just tell the ummah, what's the point? Why is it such a big secret? What's the hikmah behind this? So they may strive to worship in the last 10 nights, right? So that if a person, for example, is to know it's only the 23rd, only the 25th, only the 27th, then the next night, the other 9 nights, or the other 4 nights, if it's only the odd, then a person will stop doing ibadah. No, I'll just wait until that day. So now if a person stays in ibadah throughout the last 10, right? So the Laylatul Qadr, inshallah, by default, he'll get somewhere in there. The only other hikmah that happens, what else a person gains, is that the other 9 nights he's also getting thawab for. The other 9 nights a person also strived to gain proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's one angle. And there's another angle also. And that is the negative angle. Then, for example, someone is told that this is Laylatul Qadr. Despite that, they don't show enough respect and honor to that. So that becomes even worse. That person was told that this is the Laylatul Qadr. Still a person was oblivious of it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in keeping this a secret, has made it easier for the sinners of the ummah also. That this is also from the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the maghfirah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That if it was already told that this is the exact night of power, that this is Laylatul Qadr, despite that person is completely oblivious of it. He's still continuing doing whatever he wants to do and is engaged in whatever. So now there the sin would have been even more. So in order to even help or show the mercy to that tabaqah of the ummah, to those people of the ummah, that fraternity of the ummah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept it secret. Number 2, normally it is difficult to pray every moment of the night, right? And if we say from the night, from after Taraweeh, and again we continue our ibadah for the next 3 hours. Most of us, myself included, it's very difficult for us to do that. However, a person in i'tikaf, they are by default considered abid. As soon as they have this niyyah, they step into the masjid and they have niyyah of i'tikaf, they are now considered someone who's doing ibadah, an abid, a worshipper. So they will automatically be considered that they are in worship, which by virtue of means what? That they will be considered abid at the night of Laylatul Qadr. So this is the easiest prescription. Logically speaking, if anyone wants to make sure 100% that I get Laylatul Qadr, that I'm considered a worshipper at the Laylatul Qadr, that I have attained Laylatul Qadr, that we always speak about searching for the night of power. So if a person wants to attain that, the easiest prescription is that a person becomes mu'takif. That a person stays in the masjid with the niyyah of i'tikaf. By default, he will be considered. Now that is obviously, we're not saying that now have this and go to sleep and don't worry about anything else. No. Yani if a person, for example, hypothetically, if he wasn't to do anything but this, still he'll be considered to be an abid. Number 3, the Prophet ﷺ was pure and closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rasulullah was ma'soom, he was sinless, and he's the closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yet when Rasulullah ﷺ, now that's throughout the year, then Rasulullah ﷺ in Ramadan, it would increase even more. Then in the last 10 nights, that would increase even more. Now 4th lap over that, even for Laylatul Qadr, that even increases more. So imagine that Rasulullah ﷺ, if he's able to, so to say, multiply and exert himself so many times more, where do you and I stand? That we are more in need to strive for the night of power. Next hadith of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, that he says that whosoever goes to help a need of his brother, a person is going to help his brother in need, it is better for him than being in i'tikaf for 10 years. Now the next part of the hadith is what we want to focus on. That whoever performs i'tikaf for one day for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will place 3 trenches between him and the fire of hell. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will place 3 trenches between him and the fire of hell. Now how big is this trench? The hadith says that each trench's distance is the distance between the sky and the earth. The distance that we see between the sky and the earth, there is some kalam, so to say, amongst muhaddithin of this riwayah. But for fadail, inshallah, this is okay. We can quote this. That each trench's distance is the distance between the sky and the earth. Right? And if you look from the sky to the earth, multiply that by 3 times for one day of i'tikaf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives. So that person stays for 9 days, 10 days in i'tikaf. Imagine how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us. عن ابن عباس أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال في المعتكف هو يعكف الذنوب ويجرى له من الحسنات كعامل الحسنات كلها. The i'tikaf, one is the physical act that we will be doing inshallah. That we leave our homes physically and that we present ourselves over here physically. Now this physical act of ours should be translated to the spiritual realm also. That just as we physically removed ourselves, so to say, from the world, from the dunya, right? That is the point of it, that we leave everything else behind. We're coming for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we physically have done this, now this should happen, there should be this spiritual movement also. This hadith is very similar to that of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, wherein he says that al-muhajir man hajara al-khataya wal-dhunub. That the true muhajir, one is hijrah, that you leave from one country to the other for the sake of deen for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? That's a physical movement. But the hadith says that the true muhajir is man hajara al-khataya wal-dhunub. That one who migrates, the one who leaves behind al-khataya wal-dhunub, all his sins. That person changes his life. So like that, the mu'takif, what does he do? That physically when he comes, now this should be translated to that in my spiritual life also, I will make i'tikaf away from, right? Which is to prevent yourself from. We did earlier that the linguistic meaning of ukuf means to stay away from, prevent, to stay away from something, or to cling on, the opposite. So a person clings on to hasanat and good deeds, and he stays away from wrong. So that at the end of 9-10 days, this is what we are aiming for, right? So we don't limit ourselves to these 10 days. Right? The 10 days, these 10 days are the stepping stone. That we're using these 10 days, that how I stayed away from sins, inshallah, during these 10 days, like that for the rest of my life, even outside the masjid. Allah's deen is not only in the masjid. This was just a like how we put our car into the mechanic shop or repair shop. It doesn't stay there all day, right? As soon as it's done, it's repaired. Now what? Now you put it back onto the road. Then again, when there's a need to do repair, again it goes back to the shop. So that's how we look at these 10 days. That we're here for this repair, right? This figurative repair of ours. Alhamdulillah, at the end of these 9-10 days, now the iman is boosted and our amal and all of that is there, the spirituality. Now inshallah we can go back and face all the calamities of this world, the fitan and whatever is in this world. So the person performing i'tikaf abstains from sins. That is the main objective of i'tikaf. That he receives reward for good actions as the one who does all that. The second part of the hadith is also very important. That alhamdulillah, many of us do very good and kind acts outside the masjid. That, for example, it may be the habit of many of ours that every day we go and give sadaqah to someone, that we take care of a person, that we go visit certain sick people. So during this i'tikaf, now we might feel a little difficult to sit in i'tikaf. Why? That this good action, this good ma'mul of ours, this good habit of ours will be left now. That I won't be able to visit the sick. So over here the hadith is giving consolence to us that inshallah you will still get the reward for that. Those good deeds that you used to do, the good acts that we used to do outside, that can be done outside the masjid, inshallah you'll still receive the reward for those good acts. This is in Ibn Majah. Lessons. What do we learn from this? That when a person is in i'tikaf, every second of his is in worship. Sleeping, eating, relaxing, etc. Right? Number 2, one will get reward for abstaining from sins also. A mustaqil, independent reward for that. One for doing the good, one for staying away from sins. Number 3, even though a person cannot do all the good deeds that he used to do, that he could have done if he was outside the masjid, those that a person has a habit of, those that he could have done outside, he still receives rewards from that. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن للمسجد أوتادا, that the masjid has pegs. إن للمسجد أوتادا الملائكة جلساؤهم, that their companions, those that stay with them, they're the angels. The angels are their companions. We don't see them, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's nizam is this, his system. إن غابوا يفتقدونهم. Sometimes even us, we see that we haven't seen this brother in the masjid for so long. Is he okay? Is he out of town? So like that, these malaika, when this person is absent, the person who is who would always come to the masjid, they're absent for whatever reason. Maybe they became sick, maybe they're out of town, whatever. Now the malaika also, they go looking for these people. So where is this person? He's supposed to be here. In ghabu yaftaqid. Imagine what an honor from the side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That the malaika are asking that where is this brother Muhammad? Where is brother Abdullah? That he's always here in the masjid. وَإِن مَرِضُوا عَادُوهُم. If they become sick, they go to visit them also. It's a great honor from the side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those that continues in their to come to the masjid. The way you tie that hadith in is that if for the next 9-10 days you're sitting in the masjid, then obviously you become considered to be part of the peg of the masjid also. The malaika will think about you after that, so to say. عن عبد الله بن عمر رضي الله عنهما أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يعتكف العشر الأواخر من رمضان. Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu says that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would remain in i'tikaf for the last 10 days of Ramadan. This was a habit, the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. قال نافع, the student of Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, Nafi', great tabi'i, he says, وقد أراني عبد الله رضي الله عنه المكان الذي كان يعتكف فيه. That Nafi', the student of Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, Ibn Umar, the teacher, he showed him that this was the place, this area, this is where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would make i'tikaf. المكان الذي يعتكف فيه رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من المسجد. This is in Sahih Muslim. عن نافع عن ابن عمر عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه كان إذا اعتكف طرح له فراشه أو يوضع له سريره وراء أسطوانة التوبة. The Nafi' narrates that Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu says that when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would perform i'tikaf, a bedding or bed would be placed for him behind the pillar of Tawbah. Ustuwanatul Tawbah, referring to that pillar from the Sabab al-Nuzul of Surah Al-Tawbah. Those few Sahaba that didn't go for the battle of Tabuk. So from amongst them was one Sahabi that he tied himself to the pillar, right? And he said that until Allah and His Rasul do not forgive me, I will not release myself. So that is called the pillar of Tawbah. So over there Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would perform his i'tikaf. This is Ibn Majah and in Sahih Ibn Khuzaymah. So over here, mashallah, Mufti Izzat Sahib has put some diagrams for us that we can see in the Masjid Nabawi where these things are placed. Inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take us there also. And may Allah give us tawfiq one day to make i'tikaf over there, inshallah. Lessons. What do we learn from this? Number one, that it's permissible to put a bedding in the masjid. Rather, it's actually permissible, and this is also the etiquette, right? That way we should, when we're sleeping in the masjid, that we should put something so that there is a layer between us and the carpet of the masjid or of the masjid. And if need be, even a small bed. So there's a clause here, small bed. Not those big Coleman blow up mattresses that everyone else now is worried that where can everyone else sleep. So a small bed a person puts for a mattress perhaps, this is also permissible and rather an etiquette that we should have something below us when we're sleeping in the masjid. Number 2, that it's permissible for a person to make i'tikaf at the same place in the masjid every year. If a person every year he sleeps in that one corner, he can stay there. That's permissible for him. However, these 2 clauses are very important. That one, we cannot force people to move. If someone else came there, khali karo bhai. That move, that don't you know this is my place? Everyone, even the malaika know this is my place. That doesn't work like that. I cannot force people to move. And this isn't just i'tikaf, right? This isn't just for i'tikaf, this is for normal days, salah also. That this is my spot, if anyone comes, that's not possible, this is my saved spot. Or that I'll save this spot for someone else. Obviously, in rectifying this, there is also hikmah and wisdom. If this is happening, then there's hikmah, there's wisdom, how we try to make islah and reform this, that's happening with ease and in a nice manner. But yes, this is the ruling. That no one can say, this is my place, that I have it saved, or that I'm saving it for someone else. That is completely wrong. Number 2, cannot cause inconvenience to others. That's tied in with the same thing. That a person brings such a whole tent for himself and is taking up so much space. So what part of being in i'tikaf, part of staying with others also, this is a great lesson that we'll learn. That in our homes, we just stay with our family sometimes, and we're always speaking about unity in the ummah, right? So inshallah, when you'll be sitting here in i'tikaf, it won't just be you. There will be other people also, right? There will be 10, 15, 20 people. If 20 people of the ummah cannot live in harmony, cannot look out for one another, cannot make sure that no one else is being hurt because of my actions, then this is a mere dream that we have, that the entire ummah should be united and everyone should have muhabbah. So this is a practical ground for us, that how can we train ourselves and see that do I pass in the test of sabr or here or not? That do I pass in the test of being a part of uniting the ummah or not? Or is it that anytime someone does something, immediately I also react to that? Oh, why'd you do this? So for these few days that we're together, inshallah, one of the greatest feat that we can accomplish is that there is no fights between those that are mu'takifin. That everyone leaves with mahabbah and love. That if only inshallah next year again I can spend time with this brother in the masjid in i'tikaf. عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يعتكف في كل رمضان. Aisha radiallahu anha says that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would make i'tikaf in every Ramadan. في كل رمضان, كل رمضان, every Ramadan, meaning except when these 2 excuses that occurred. وإذا صلى الغداء دخل مكانه الذي اعتكف فيه. That when he would finish with the morning prayers, Salatul Fajr, then he would go into his place. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for example, if we want Thursday after Fajr, you can start your i'tikaf over here. That would be in accordance with this hadith. So that he would sit from that time. صلاة الغداء دخل مكانه الذي اعتكف فيه. قال فاستأذنته عائشة أن تعتكف. So then Aisha anha, one year she asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she sought permission. Right? She sought permission. She forced her way and then no, for sure I'm also going to do it. She sought permission that can I also make i'tikaf. فأذن لها, Rasulullah said no problem, you can also come and join. You can also sit in i'tikaf. فضربت فيه قبة. So she put her tent there. فسمعت بها حفصة. حفصة رضي الله عنها, another from the Azwaj Mutahharat, the daughter of Umar radiallahu anhu, she heard of this. So she heard that Aisha radiallahu anha sitting in i'tikaf. So now this is out of her zeal. She says, I will also come sit in i'tikaf. فضربت قبة. She also comes and puts her tent. وسمعت زينب بها. Zaynab radiallahu anha also hears this. She also comes and puts her قبة. فلما انصرف رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من الغداء, when he turns from after Salat al-Fajr, he comes and sees أبصر أربع قباب. He comes and sees 4 tents. So this is the musabaqa ila al-khairat the Sahaba radiallahu anhum had. They used to vie and compete in good actions. فقال ما هذا. He said, what is this? فأخبر خبرهن. He was told, I know this one is Aisha, this one is Hafsa, this one is Zaynab. فقال ما حملهن على هذا. That what has made you do this? Because of what? Why are you doing this? Al-bir. Is it good that you're doing? And Rasulullah didn't like this for certain reasons. Inshallah we'll come discuss that. انزعوها فلا أراها. Remove all of these. فلا أراها. All of these, yani his also. So this was that 1 year from the 2 years when Rasulullah didn't sit in i'tikaf for the last 10 days. He didn't sit that year then. انزعوها, he said remove mine also. فلا أراها. So this shows one point that we make over here is that how Rasulullah to keep the love between amongst everyone, even his own self, He said, remove mine also. فنزعت فلم يعتكف في رمضان. This Ramadan he didn't make i'tikaf حتى اعتكف في آخر العشر من شوال. The last 10 days of Shawwal, then Rasulullah ﷺ, he made i'tikaf then. What lessons do we learn from this hadith of Rasulullah ﷺ? Now, number one, that he first granted Aisha anha permission, but then forbade her. Right? So what was the reason behind this? That her house was right next to the masjid. In the diagram that we had earlier, her house was right next to the masjid. So it wasn't difficult for her to go in and out, for example, for any need of hers. Right? So there won't be any, as we say, be-pardagi, non-hijab that comes in between that. Other wives' houses, they were at a distance or a little away from that area. So they would have to come across or cut across. And now they would be going across the Sahaba would be seeing them come in and out. So they would have to come in and out in front of them. So Rasulullah therefore he forbade them. He said that this is not piety. And when he said al-bir, is this what you call piety? He said this isn't piety. Number two, he told Aisha anha also to remove the tent. So the main reason he wanted those sahabiyat, those azwaj, to remove their tents, because he told them to keep that equality, so that they don't feel bad. He told Aisha anha that you also remove your tent, right? And then to keep that equality, so that Aisha anha doesn't feel bad, he said they remove my tent also. So along with them, he ﷺ also removed his tent. So Aisha anha does not feel hurt. Number four, to seclude yourself in curtains or a tent is permissible. And in our masjid, alhamdulillah, we have this nidam, we have this set, that we just pull these curtains over here, and therefore those musalli or those mu'takifin, they can have their privacy behind that. Other places, there's a different system. People have their own tent. Sometimes there's a bigger tent. Whatever the point is, to have some type of veil, so to say, some type of privacy, that is permissible. It shouldn't cause, now again, the same things we need to keep in mind. It shouldn't cause inconvenience to others. This is a great lesson that we should try to implement in these few days, that we don't cause any inconvenience to others. Number two, it shouldn't make the masjid congested. During the times when the mu'takifin want to sleep, they can come outside that area also. It's not necessarily that we're confining the mu'takifin, that no, you guys just stay here. No, they can come sleep out over here also, as long as they have something spread out. That is also permissible. After Fajr Salah, most people are gone after an hour or so. After that, the mu'takifun, they can turn off the lights and they can sleep out over here also, not a problem. Number five, a wife should not sit in i'tikaf without the permission of her husband, and even if the husband gives permission, he can take it back if there is a valid reason. And best is that the women, the wife, they make their i'tikaf in their places in their house. That's that area which they should dedicate for their salah. That here I pray salah, they should stay over there and make their i'tikaf. And whatever household needs to be done, for example, whatever cooking needs to be done, they can go, they can do that, and then return. That's not impermissible. Another hadith, عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا اعتكف يدني إلي رأسه فأرجله وكان لا يدخل البيت إلا لحاجة الإنسان. That Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم, when he would be performing i'tikaf, يدني إلي رأسه. Yudni, he would put his head towards me. Whilst his body, Rasulullah, his body would be in the masjid, he would lean his head back. Because Aisha, as we said, her hujra, her house was close to them, was attached to the masjid. So Rasulullah would be in the masjid, and he would put his head back, and she would comb his hair, oil his hair. Right? You can also, inshallah, ask, this is sunnah romance, so to say. You can ask your wife, inshallah, one day. Then you also have to return the favor. Not only one way, both ways. So yudni ilayya ra'sa fawrajul. This hadith also is dalil, proof, so to say. Some people say there's no such thing as sunnah i'tikaf. Where do you get this from? And all these rules that not going outside. Why would Rasulullah do so much takalluf? That he's staying in the masjid and then he puts his head out. If there was no such thing that you can go anywhere, anytime, in and out, then why is Rasulullah in the masjid and he's putting his head out? So this in itself is also a dalil. وَكَانَ لَا يَدْخُلُ الْبَيْتِ إِلَّا لِحَاجَةِ الْإِنسَانِ. Whatever human needs there will be, only then he would go to the home. Lessons. Number one, it is permissible to wash the head and comb the hair. You can wash your head, you can comb your hair during your stay over here, on condition that one stays in the masjid. and water flows out of them. Yani if a person is going to do that, over here the simple is that whenever we need to go to make wudu, whenever we need to relieve ourselves in our wudu area, we can do that. You can take a few seconds and wash your head also. Number two, someone from outside can also do these acts for the one in i'tikaf. Now you have a line here, all the mu'takifun's wives are standing out there massaging. That's not the point. Whether there was privacy over there, that behind them no one was there, Aisha's house was there. Okay. Number three, if some part of the body goes outside the masjid, it doesn't break the i'tikaf as long as the majority of the body is inside the masjid. The person just sticks a hand out, receives something. Sometimes people pass food over here. MashaAllah, or Firoz Bhai usually does it. He stands the middleman. Those that come, they pass the food and then he takes it. So that's also permissible, as long as you're in the masjid though. As long as the majority of the body is in the masjid such that someone looking assumes him to still be inside. Number four, it's permissible to leave the masjid to relieve oneself. That's obvious. Whenever we need to relieve ourselves, feel free, that's fine. A person can go. And even, for example, I think it was last year that the water had stopped. There was some water problem. So across the mu'takifin were going over there. So that's also permissible. So the closest area that's available to us, we can go and relieve ourselves over there also, not a problem. That's not a cigarette break though. It's not a cigarette break. Just as soon as a person goes, relieves himself, then he come back into the masjid. عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يمر بالمريض. When he would go for his needs, sometimes he would pass by and there's a sick person. So he would continue to walk, and without diverting, he would ask someone, that is this person okay? And then he'd continue just on his way. Lessons. It is not permissible to leave the masjid without a valid excuse. Right? This mas'ala is very important to understand, that whether a person forgets or a person does it accidentally, it doesn't make a difference. Right? This isn't say the rules are so stringent. Why is so much? If it makes it easier, we'll give another example. Say for example, a person is performing salah. And he accidentally passes wind. A person forgetfully passes wind also, for example. In both these scenarios, what happens? Can a person say, I accidentally passed wind, so no problem? What happens to a person's salah? What happens? It breaks, right? It breaks. The salah broke, even though it's an accident, right? So certain rules, certain masail, certain rules that we discuss, accident and forgetfulness doesn't make a difference. It still breaks. We're not saying that there's a sin for it. رَبَّنَا لَا تُؤَاخِذْنَا إِن نَسِينَا أَوْ أَخْطَأْنَا. Ya Allah, don't hold us accountable for what we forget and what we make mistakes. That's in the akhirah. Don't give us any sin for that. That doesn't mean to say that there is no repercussions of that, right? So as a physical example, we always give this, that if a person is playing with the gun or something and he pulls the trigger and he tells the person inside, sorry, it was an accident, please forgive me. That's fine, that's an accident, but what happened, was there an effect or no? The bullet shot, is there an effect? Yes, there is. So like that, a person, unless if in the hadith Rasulullah it's mentioned that in those masail, those rulings, those areas where the forgetfulness does make a difference. For example, fasting. There's clear hadith for that the person who forgets and eats, then for that person it's forgiven. Right? A person can continue with the fast. So that's because of the hadith. Otherwise, the norm is that accident and or forgetfulness, it doesn't make a difference. Lessons. That it is not permissible to leave the masjid without a valid excuse. If while walking a person he talks or asks about the sick, then that is permissible. Number two, it is not permissible to take a different route for this purpose. That person said, no, I'm going to that special bathroom over there, and so that on the way he can go do all his errands and then go to the bathroom and then come back. No. Another hadith of Rasulullah regarding i'tikaf, that Safiya radiallahu anha, the wife of Rasulullah went to Allah's Messenger to visit him in the masjid while he was in i'tikaf in the last 10 days of Ramadan. She conversed with him for a while. After she got up in order to return home, the Rasulullah accompanied her, till the door. When they reached the gate of the mosque, the door of the masjid, opposite of the door of Salamah, two Ansari men were passing. Rasulullah is in i'tikaf, he's still in the masjid. Two Ansari men were passing by, and they greeted Allah's Prophet ﷺ. So he told them, do not leave. He said to them, do not leave. عَلَى رِسْلِكُمَا, do not leave. And said, she is my wife, Safiya bint Huyay. Yani when these two Ansari saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with the lady, obviously she was in hijab, she was in parda, no one could see who she actually is. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to remove any doubts from the hearts of the Sahabi, he said that, wait, let me clarify the position. This is Safiya, my wife. So the Sahaba, when they heard this, said, Subhanallah, that Allah's Messenger, how, basically, in other words, that how can we have such thoughts regarding you, Ya Rasulullah? So Rasulullah said, no. Shaitan reaches everywhere in the human body, that Shaitan yajri majrad dam, that he flows in the body like, or his wasawis, a person, the waswasa of Shaitan, that flows in a person's body like how blood runs in a person's body. So I was afraid that Shaitan might insert an evil thought into your mind. So one lesson that we learn from this hadith, that if someone comes to visit a person in i'tikaf, it is permissible to talk. Normal things, how are you, is everything okay? This is fine. Sometimes you'll have visitors, family that are coming, children, grandchildren that come to visit, no problem. Number two, a woman can also come to visit, but should not come in front of men. And in this hadith, it was at night time, the others weren't there. And she came privately with the proper attire, hijab, etc. And she spoke to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the laws of hijab obviously should be adhered to. Number three, if someone comes, they should walk him to the door without leaving the masjid. And if you want to walk them out till the door, and then after that you can bid them. Number four, it is permissible to talk privately with the wife while in i'tikaf. It's permissible, so that means even with your cell phone, if they call, it's okay, it's permissible. But again, if we can't, it's here, all the masala is saying it's permissible. It's not saying that you should, that you must, right? Obviously, it's best that if during these 10 days, if it's possible, that you stay away from that. A person can dedicate his time so that it doesn't keep on diverting him. Or a person allocates a very minimal amount of time. That after every few days or once in a day for 5 minutes, whatever khair khabar that you want to ask, salam dua, that's fine. So a person limits that. Number five, one should remove doubt from others' thoughts. If there's any thoughts that may happen, occur to a person, that someone may think something wrong and evil, then a person should clarify their position. And more importantly, that for unnecessarily a person shouldn't put themselves into that position. You need to. This hadith we discussed, alhamdulillah, in our tafsir session also during when we were doing tafsir of ta'awudh, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. That a person doesn't put himself into the place of tuhmah where someone can cast doubts upon them. Next hadith, Aisha, she says that as-sunnah ala al-mu'takif, that she discusses some rules over here regarding i'tikaf. This hadith is also a dalil, a proof that there is something called a sunnah i'tikaf, that there are specific rules regarding i'tikaf, the last 10 days. The manner to perform i'tikaf for a person is that he does not visit the sick. Right? A person doesn't leave the masjid to go visit the sick. Number two, does not participate in the funeral prayers. Meaning those that are outside the masjid. That is the sunnah. That the funeral prayers at the time of Rasulullah used to be done outside the masjid. So she says you don't go outside the masjid for the funeral prayers. In our masjid, we usually bring the funeral in. So then if you're there, then you can pray it. Number three, does not touch a woman or have relations. Right? Number four, does not leave without extreme necessity. There is no i'tikaf without. Number five, there is no i'tikaf without the fast. And if a person, for example, is chronically ill, very high level of diabetes, for example, they're not fasting this year, then they can't say that, okay, let me just sit in i'tikaf, and the sunnah i'tikaf, at least that'll be done, right? Naflan, as a nafl, perhaps you can say as a nafl i'tikaf, but the sunnah i'tikaf will not be done. It is a condition, as Aisha is saying, that a person needs to be fasting. And number six, there is no i'tikaf except in a congregational masjid, that we already discussed. What are the conditions for the validity of i'tikaf? Now, who do you need to? What is the criterion? Do I need to be like this? Do I need to do this? Is there a certain thing I have to do? It's very simple. That who can do i'tikaf? Number one, a Muslim. You're a Muslim. We have the basic conditions, so to say, of the kalima. We can do it. Number two, sane. A person is sane. They can do i'tikaf. Baligh, being mature, is not a condition. However, we obviously advise that people don't bring very little children to the masjid. Why? Again, two things. One is that there is obviously the problem of najasat that sometimes can happen. There's an aspect of disturbance. And also the father, whoever will be bringing the child with them, then they themselves, their i'tikaf will, so to say, be they'll be turned away from the objective of their i'tikaf. Now all the time they'll be worrying about, is this kid okay? Is he doing okay? He's crying sometimes. So a person's concentration will move. Children who are still not baligh, they're not mature, but they are of age, of sense at least. Some kids, and that depends on child to child. Each father should know their own child. Some at 7, they listen and they don't make a problem. Alhamdulillah, we have kids that sat like that, mashallah. Some at the age of 10, some at even younger, some at 50 also won't understand. That's besides the point, right? Bachpan ke wo bhi pata nahi chalta, right? Sometimes. But khair, over here the condition is the person must be Muslim and sane. The woman should perform i'tikaf next is that women should perform i'tikaf in the confinements of her home, in a room where she usually prays her salah. The permission of the husband is also necessary. So these are the conditions of where and how to do an i'tikaf. Where can i'tikaf be performed? Obviously, as we said, only in a masjid. For example, al-masjid, the haram, right? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq. Number 2, al-masjid al-nabawi, the masjid al-aqsa, obviously. And any other masjid wherein Jumu'ah is performed. And the 5th, even where 5 days salahs are performed, but there's no Jumu'ah. And this happens usually in this country, wherever there's 5 daily prayers, then we'll have Jumu'ah over here also. But in certain areas of the world, usually Muslim countries where there are many masajid, they'll have certain masajid will have their daily 5 congregational prayers, but the Jumu'ah masjid they'll count sometimes. The Jumu'ah masjid of the area, all the people, musallis of the small masjids go to that Jumu'ah masjid. So we're saying, the masjid is saying that whether it's in that small masjid where 5 congregational prayers are held, the person can perform his i'tikaf over there, and obviously they can also perform in the Jumu'ah masjid. Types of i'tikaf. Right? So mainly over here we're obviously discussing the i'tikaf, the sunnah i'tikaf, the last 10 days. The adab, the etiquettes, whatever we have mentioned, that applies all the time to the masjid. Right? Whatever etiquettes we have discussed, that applies to all the i'tikafs and whenever we're basically in the masjid. So the first type of i'tikaf is wajib, a necessary. That is when a person makes a vow. From the side of Sharia, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasn't made any i'tikaf wajib. Yes, a person, if he himself makes a wajib upon himself, a vow. That for example, a person says that, Ya Allah, if I pass in these exams of mine, that I vow that I will spend 2 days in the masjid. Right? So now, when he passes that test, that exam, now he doesn't forget about that. He needs to come and sit in the masjid. Ya Allah, if you grant me a child, I vow that I will sit for 5 days in the masjid, i'tikaf in the masjid. So a person now has to come and he sits in the masjid for these 5 days. So that is a wajib i'tikaf. Why did it become wajib? Because of his own vow, nadhr. Number 2, sunnah, what we've been discussing so far, the last 10 days of Ramadan, that is the sunnah i'tikaf, sunnah mu'akkada, which we said, very emphasized sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And number 3, naflan. Naflan we also discussed, optional, that if a person has 10 minutes, 20 minutes, a person comes early to the masjid, rather whenever we enter the masjid, to have this niyyah, that Allah, this time of mine, now this will become a bonus, so to say. So any amount of time throughout the year. The sunnah i'tikaf starts on the night of the 21st, right? With this year inshallah we'll be starting on Thursday night. So we advise at least that by Asr time everyone should come. It would be very unfortunate that a person makes all the preparations, but now because of his last minute delay, the person only gives himself so much time, that'll come right before Maghrib. Something happens, a person ends up coming late. So now all that preparation he did, so to say, it goes to waste. I mean, the person took his time off also, etc. So now this person will become mahroom of sitting in i'tikaf. So this is such a great act. Let's give ourselves some buffer time and try to come early to the masjid so you can also settle down easily and nicely over here also. Until the moon of Eid is sighted. So that depends whether it's 29th night, whether it's after 29 days, 9 days of i'tikaf or 10 days. Number 2, must stay within the boundaries of the masjid, which we already discussed, that these are the boundaries of the masjid where you see the green carpeted area. And the difference between masjid building and masjid proper, we also discussed that the bathroom will be connected to the masjid. A person can go there for his needs. You don't loiter around there, you don't go there for no reason, hallway, offices, basement, wudu area. What is considered to be a necessity? And we say you can leave the masjid out of necessity, obviously relieving oneself, going to the bathroom. If a person has ghusl of impurity, that needs to be done because of some emission that occurs, nocturnal emission. So a person needs to use the bath for that. A person can do ghusl for that purpose. Some ulama say for ghusl of Jumu'ah, this is ikhtilaf, difference of opinion. Some say for Jumu'ah it's permissible, others say it's not. Number 3, wudu. A person loses his wudu, he should go to the wudu area and perform wudu and then come back to the masjid. Number 4, getting food if no one is available to bring it. Over here, alhamdulillah, the arrangements have been made, food is provided, and many families, they also bring food for the mu'takifin. And here we'll also advise that if there is too much food, then don't call for food, and if you know, then stop people from bringing food, so it doesn't become a waste over here. Many times the mu'takifin themselves will say that they don't want more food. Out of our own zeal, alhamdulillah, we want to do good. We want to bring food for the mu'takifun. As we said, mashallah, they're doing a sunnah ala al-kifaya. It's very good that they're doing it for. It's also on behalf of the community. But rather than this becoming an act of good, it actually becomes something cumbersome and it becomes a burden. So alhamdulillah, food arrangements have been made. Specifically, if someone wants something very specific, their diet doesn't allow that, and they tell you privately, that's fine. Inshallah, you can bring for them. Number 5, a mu'adhin to call adhan. This is in that context, perhaps many of you seen back home that mu'adhin, he leaves the masjid and he goes up onto the minaret and they have to give adhan over there. So you have to leave the masjid for that purpose. That's fine. Here we do it from the masjid, inside the masjid anyways. Number 6, if no Jumu'ah in that masjid. For example, if there was no Jumu'ah that is held in this masjid, then the musallis can go to the next masjid where there is Jumu'ah. And Allah forbid, 7, masjid collapsing. If the masjid does collapse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, but if this does happen, then the mu'takifun, they can go to the next masjid and they can perform their itikaf over there. If the lights turn off for a little bit, that's not an excuse, inshallah. Now if, for example, till here we did how not to break, what not to do, but if, for example, someone's itikaf does break, right? A person, a human being, it happens, itikaf does break. A person did walk outside the masjid, a person didn't know of the ruling. So now, what do they have to do? So number 1, they have to make qada of that one day's itikaf only. Very simple. The one day a person missed, for example, it was the 25th day, right? It was the 25th, meaning the 5th day of itikaf a person is sitting in. During that day, what happens? Someone calls him and he accidentally leaves the masjid. So now, just this for this one day, the next day a person can also keep this qada i'tikaf, so to say. Right? So this one day qada can be done the very next day. But for example, it happened on the last day of i'tikaf, the 30th, right? The final, the 10th day or the 9th day if there is no day thereafter. So then after Ramadan, one day a person should keep fast one day, and a person should sit for i'tikaf in the masjid. Qada of all 10 days is not necessary. It's just that one day which a person missed, that one day a person repeats. Etiquettes of i'tikaf: spend as much time as possible in seclusion and remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Majority of the time a person should spend in seclusion. That's what i'tikaf means, that this is a time where a person, it's between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 2, talk as less as possible. Useless things. That doesn't mean to say a person pulls a face at everyone. No. In the morning you meet the other mu'takifun, other people come to the masjid, we meet them, we greet them, say salam, how are you, is everything okay? That's fine. This little amount of speech, that's not what it means. But now saying that, what's happening back home, and this is what's happening in the world, and this is what I read on the news, that's what we're speaking about. That a person should leave out. Talk as less as possible. Number 3, what can a person do? Pray nawafil. We have all the time. There's ishraq and duha, then tahiyatul wudu every time after you make wudu, then you come back, you make tahiyatul wudu for that. After maghrib, you pray in your 6 rakat, your awabin, and salatul tasbih. There's so many nawafil that can be read throughout the day. And many of us may have also missed fard salah, right? What we call qada umri. So this is a perfect time for that, right? That whatever has happened, it's happened. Now it's time to rectify that. So a person takes out time and he fulfills those qada salawat. Tilawah of the Quran, this being the month of Ramadan, again and again we hear the virtues, right? Obviously, the more we recite the Quran, the better. And perhaps we'll have, and alhamdulillah in our masjid, we have so many hufaz coming in and out. So you can set a small appointment, one-to-one with one hafiz, another hafiz, can you give me 10 minutes today, 15 minutes, just listen to my Quran. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, inshallah. I'm sure any of these hufaz, they'll give that. It's just a matter of you showing a little want and desire for learning. Tilawah of the Quran, dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, listening to lectures, and inshallah we'll have programs set throughout the month. One is the Asr, that we already have that, the tafsir. Then inshallah after Dhuhr Salah, we'll have immediately after Dhuhr Salah for mu'takifun and non-mu'takifs alike, a tajweed session inshallah. We'll explain the rules of tajweed, we'll recite these, and we'll break up into halaqas inshallah. There will be some private concentration also. Hopefully inshallah this is something which will be of benefit to the community, and especially for the mu'takifun inshallah we'll have one program prior to Asr Salah. Prior to Asr Salah, Asr Salah is 7 o'clock, we'll have one session at 6 o'clock from 6 to 6:45. Inshallah Hafiz Atiq will have that session with the mu'takifun. Others can also join inshallah. Read Islamic books. Obviously, before reading any book, you should ask anyone who you have reliance upon that, can I read this book, is it okay? And then inshallah you can use that literature. Permissible acts in the masjid, to eat in the masjid, your suhoor, not during the day, inshallah you'll be fasting, right? So to eat in the masjid, the suhoor that needs to be done, the iftar, the dinner, you can have your midnight snack also, no problem. To sleep in the masjid, buy and sell that which is necessary, cut hair, talk, not futile, nikah. For eating in the masjid, at one point that comes to mind, that we need to be very careful about this, that it is against the etiquette of the masjid that we eat raw onions. That person cannot eat raw onions in the masjid or eat raw onions and come to the masjid. Certain food of ours, in our culture, we have this, right? For example, chole, they put raw onions on top. I'm not calling it out. I'm going to say don't eat the chole itself, the chickpeas itself is fine. But if it has raw onions, please do not bring it to the masjid and do not eat in the masjid, right? So these are things that we need to be very cognizant about. Nikah, inshallah, agar aapki lottery khul jaye to nikah bhi karwa jaye. Nikah, change clothes without exposing their privates. Right? Check the sick and prescribe medicine. And if there's a doctor sahab amongst the itikaf, his whole itikaf might just go in this. This happens. If a person is genuinely sick, then you can ask the doctor, and the doctor can also prescribe. In our madrasa we had Hafiz Bashir sahab. 10 students would come, 10 different sicknesses, used to give the same tablet to them. So Mufti sahab, Mufti Rida Haq sahab used to say, aise marizon ke liye aise hi doctor sahiye. The students are only going there, they don't want to miss class today, they want to just stay in today, so they call it this sickness, that sickness. Hafiz Bashir sahab, the same tablet, he used to give it to everyone. So Mufti sahab used to say that for these type of sick people, this is the best doctor. Check the sick and prescribe medicine. Teach lessons of the Quran or Islamic sciences. Not that now during itikaf we become mufassirun. And for those that know, that have read, that have studied, they can keep these sessions, and inshallah we can benefit. Disliked acts, total silence, assuming it to be an act of piety. That the more silent I am, then that in itself is a means of piety. No, if a person stays silent to stay away from wrong, or a person is silent because he is thinking about the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is making muraqabah, etc., that's fine. Futile talks, bringing merchandise to sell in the masjid. Now a person has someone selling Snickers over here, someone selling this over there. Now they have the fidget spinners and everyone has their own stall. That's obviously wrong. Take so much space that causes inconvenience, doing paid work, etc. in the masjid. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our itikaf. Those that are not doing, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us, myself, tawfiq inshallah to do it very soon in the future. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us for anything. We can take questions inshallah.
Yes, I have one question. You have clarified that the green area is the masjid. So when I leave the green area and go in the bathroom, then I'm leaving the masjid. The same way, if that is occupied and somebody needs real bad, can we use those bathrooms?
Definitely.